Hello. So today we will start off with the last advanced macro facility, which is macro instructions defining other macros. Right. So previously we have seen examples where one macro was called within the defining macro. That is, one macro was called within another macro. And if you have gone through the previous lectures, you would know that that phenomenon was called as nested macros, right? So just as we have different for loops within other for loops, different if conditions within other if conditions, similarly we have seen a case where we could call one macro within another, and that we referred to as nested macro definitions. Fine. So we have previously gone through that. So the today's lecture is all about the macro instructions which define other macros. Fine. So a single macro instruction can be used to simplify the process of defining a group of similar macros. Fine. So a single macro instruction. Fine. So a macro definition, a single macro definition that can be used to simplify the process of doing what? Of defining a group of similar macros. So using one particular macro definition, we can define a group of similar macros. A group of similar macros means multiple similar macros. Fine. Using one particular single definition. So one particular macro instruction can lead to multiple similar macros. This is the whole gist of the concept, right? That macro instructions, one macro instruction set can be used to define macros. So that macro instruction set would be acting as a template, as a mother template for all the other macros. Fine. Now how does this work? See, it is possible to have a macro definition within the body of another macro. Body of another macro essentially means a macro definition, right? So it is possible to have a macro definition within another macro definition, right? It is possible to have a macro definition within another macro definition. Again, the inner macro definition is not defined until the outer macro has been called. Fine. So all of these things we will look into in the examples. Fine. But we have to understand two things here, that we are defining one macro within the body of another macro. That's the first thing. And in order to use the inner macro, the macro that is defined inside the other macro, in order to use that, first we have to call the outer macro. Fine. So if you are confused about what inner macro means, what outer macro means, please go through the previous lectures, right? Okay. So moving into the examples, let's take an example of a single macro. Fine. So this is nothing but a single macro where we have the macro keyword, which indicates that the macro definition is starting. Then we have the name of the macro, which is define, in this case define. Then we have a argument ampersand fun, and that is followed by any number of statements, any number of instructions in the macro body, in the macro definition. Fine. And after all the statements we have the macro end or the mend statement. Fine. So this is a very simple example of a single macro, right? A single macro definition looks like this. We all know this from the previous lectures. Fine. There is supposed to be no doubt about these things, right? Now we come to the example of a single macro defining another macro. Fine. So again, what we have here is the example that we had in the previous slide, right? So we have the macro keyword. Fine. In the second line we have the name of the macro, which is define, and it is taking an argument as input. Fine. This argument in this case is named ampersand fun, fun. Fine. So this is nothing but the argument taken by the outer macro. So this macro is now being called the outer macro, right? So this we are clear about. So these three lines, this macro, define ampersand fun, and mend, right? So these lines make up the outer macro. Now within this outer macro, see, we have another definition which begins with the keyword or the pseudo of macro and ends with the pseudo of mend. Fine. So this, what I have highlighted right now, this is the inner macro, and the remaining part is that of the outer macro, right? Okay. So in this case, see, ampersand fun is the argument that was taken in by the outer macro. Fine. Ampersand fun is the argument which is taken in by the outer macro, right? This we can understand, this we already know, right? A very interesting thing is that this same argument for the outer macro can be used as a name for the inner macro. See, this is the outer macro definition, and here this is the outer macro name. This is the argument for the outer macro. Its name is ampersand fun. Now in the inner macro, when we are defining the inner macro, that also begins with the macro sudo up. In the second line, we are supposed to write the name of the macro, right? But in this case, we are passing the argument of the outer macro, which is ampersand fun, as the name of the inner macro. Fine. So the argument taken by the outer macro is taken as name for the inner macro. So again, ampersand fun, which was an argument for the outer macro, is here a name for the inner macro, and the inner macro can also make use of other arguments for itself, right? Now in this case, ampersand fun is not an argument. For the inner macro, ampersand fun is supposed to be the name, right? Where will we get this name? We will get this name when we are calling the outer macro, right? We will get this name ampersand fun. We will get a value or a string value for ampersand fun when we are supposed to call the outer macro. Fine. So this is an example of how one macro definition can contain another macro definition within itself, and in the same process, this macro definition, the inner macro definition, can be provided with a name by using the argument of the outer macro definition. Fine. Okay. So if you have any problems with this part, please pause the lecture, go through it slowly. I am sure you will understand. Fine. So see, again, this part is the definition of the macro ampersand fun. Now in this case, we are writing ampersand fun because we really don't know what actual value ampersand fun will represent, because this is a inner macro definition, and ampersand fun value will be provided during macro call of the outer macro. When we are calling the macro call define and we are providing the name for an argument, at that point of time we will get to know with what name we are supposed to define the inner macro, right? So this part is the definition of the macro called ampersand fun, and the whole definition is that of the macro define. Fine. So this is the example of a single macro that defines another macro. I am sure this is very much understandable, this is very much clear, right? Okay. So how do we call this then? Fine. So in the left we have the same definition where we have two macros, right? Now the outer macro has to be called first. Why cannot we call the inner macro first? See, if we wanted to call the inner macro, we would have to know the name of the macro. Whenever we are calling a macro, if you have gone through the previous lectures, you will know that whenever we are trying to call a macro, we are supposed to call it by its name. Fine. So in this case, we do not know the name of the inner macro. The name of the inner macro is simply the value of an argument, right? So how do we get the value of this argument? We will get the value of this argument when the user calls the outer macro. When the user calls the outer macro. So the outer macro has to be called first. That will define the inner macro, right? The outer macro has to be called first, and that will help us define the inner macro. Now let us look at the example of a call. So a call will look like this: define, add, right? Because define is the name of the outer macro and ampersand fun was the argument. So in the place of an argument, we are providing a name, which is add. Fine. So this is the example of a call, right? So the outer macro has a call define, add. Now this add will represent ampersand fun. This add will stand for the dummy argument ampersand fun. Now this ampersand fun is used where? It is used to name the inner macro. So this statement will define a macro with name as add. and expand into a new macro definition, right? So whenever we are calling the outer macro with define add, we are simply giving a value, we are simply giving an actual value to the dummy argument, which was &fun. And once we have called the outer macro, this statement will lead to the definition of this inner macro, right? And this macro will be defined with the name as add, because &fun now has a value called add. We have passed a value add for the argument &fun during macro call. Fine. So this will lead to a new macro definition, macro add with argument &arg and other instructions as follows, right? So this is the whole concept, where one single macro definition, which is the outer macro, can be used to define, to create or to generate a set of similar type of macros. Why? Because see, for the inner macro, the whole macro definition will remain same, right? For the inner macro, the whole macro definition remains same. We are not able to change the macro definition. So in that sense, all the macros are said to be similar. What changes for the macros? What can be changed? We can simply change this name. See, that is why I have highlighted in red. The only thing that is changeable for this set of similar macros is the macro name. In this case, the macro name is &fun. Is it that the actual name? No, that is just a dummy argument which we will replace by providing the real name that we want for the inner macro, and we will provide that by calling the outer macro during macro call. Fine. So this is why we were saying initially that this method is supposed to generate a set of similar macros. This can be used to generate a set of similar macros. How? If we call the outer macro again, let's say define, and here we write sub with a different name, so then another macro will be created which will have the same macro definition but a different name. The name will be sub, right? And so on and so forth. We can continue doing this time and again as much as we want, right? So this is the whole concept. I am sure this is very much clear, right? So some concluding notes. See, the inner macro is not directly callable until the outer macro is called. So first we have to call the outer macro. First we have to call define add. Once we are calling this, then we can define, or then actually a macro add will automatically be defined. And once this has been defined, we can then call the macro called add. Fine. Then we can actually say add AR or add B, add C, add data 1, add data 2. We can do this then. Fine. Fine. So the inner macro is not callable until the outer macro is called. This is first thing we have to understand. Now this technique can be used to dynamically generate new macros with the macro names provided by the user. So this is the main thing. Fine. So we can dynamically, or at runtime, we can generate new macros with names that the user wants. Fine. So this is a technique that we can be using for that purpose, right? Now this is also known as macro definitions within macro definitions, very obviously, because we have a macro definition which is lying within another macro definition, right? So this was all about the last advanced macro facility, which is macro instructions defining macros. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.